Meantime, of the House Oversight Committee criticizing the president's economic track record. In an op-ed in Monday's FT, Congressman Darrell Issa wrote, Mr. Obama's Keynesian experiment amounted to little more than an exercise in the redistribution of wealth from our grandchildren to today's special interest groups. The chairman, joins us this morning from the Hill. Congressman, good morning to you. Good to see you again.
Well, good morning. And, I don't want to look to the past today. We're looking to the future where the president is on the same sheet of music, realizing that if we can get regulatory burdens that don't need to be there or streamline them, we can get Americans working again.
Yeah, I guess that's what we sort of need to talk about is the balance between the cost of regulations and the benefits, because clearly some believe they do have some benefit. Ranking Member Cummings today, I'm sure you've seen his statement. The committee has requested information only about the cost of regulation and not the benefits. This is a fundamental point. We cannot do a legitimate cost-benefit analysis by collecting information about the costs alone. Are you ignoring one and not paying enough attention to the other?
Well, the problem with my ranking member is it matters to him who says something, not what's said. The president reached out to the Business Roundtable and asked about cost. He didn't ask about the benefit, if you will. He didn't ask about environmental offsets. And in fairness, when these regulations are produced, one of the amazing things is the EPA does not look at what the cost is. They might get a small benefit while costing billions or even greater amounts of dollars of jobs in the economy. One of the things we'd like to see changed is that we should weigh cost-benefit when we make a regulation. We fully intend on reaching out to, if you will, the environmental group and saying, make your case of why business doesn't have a case. But let's remember, job creators are not at the environmental groups. Job creators are the people we've reached out to in vast numbers. We have over 2,000 pages of responses, and we're listening today. Our session is all about AmericanJobCreators.com's work to get information that we're now going to not act upon, but listen to, and then we will begin acting upon it committee by committee.
But you're saying, but this is sort of stage one. Reaching out to businesses, stage one, and there will be a stage two.
Oh, absolutely. When businesses make a case that something is causing them jobs, we're making them put it in writing, we're putting it on the web, we're delivering copies of it to OMB and to the president with who said what, all categorized. And if they can't make their case and make it stick, they're not going to get regulatory relief. But if they can make the case that 9.6% could be 7% or 6% if America got more competitive, then I believe we should start looking at it. One thing that Elijah Cummings and I have in common is we're old enough to remember that, let's say in 1990, we were not underregulated. We were not somehow having dirty water and dirty air, and yet we have vastly increased the amount of regulation and the time it takes to get something done since that time. President Obama said when he was asked about what he learned from the stimulus, he said, I learned there's no such thing as shovel-ready. Well, there should be such a thing as shovel-ready. We should be able to do projects quickly and at a reasonable cost.
Do you have any estimates as to what you could do, what kind of contribution you could make to job creation if, in fact, some of these businesses gave you a good argument and you followed up on it and regulatory hurdles were lessened?
Well, I came out of the consumer electronics industry, and although it's not quite wheat and corn, it is a market where 2 or 3% reduction in a cost can give you virtually all the business, and 2 or 3% increase in cost means you only get an order when the other guy runs out of stock. So the elasticity, if you will, of American competitiveness could be very small relief and very large changes in America's ability to export or to make in America rather than import. Remember, American jobs do pay more, but that's not the greatest burden to American companies making decisions here in the United States. It has more to do with the cost of regulation, the time and capital it takes to build plants and equipment, and their ability to get that capital. So we're going to deal with the things other than good-paying American jobs and see if we can't bend that curve in favor of American workers.
How much do you expect the conversation today to veer towards conversations about immigration reform and talent, the ability to find talented people in this country, the conversation about people who've gone to universities here and yet then go overseas afterwards?
Well, that's a passion of mine. It was not the #1 issue that we got when we got all these regulatory impediments, but it is something that I certainly believe strongly that if we would take people who graduate with advanced degrees and give them an opportunity to remain here and help create additional jobs through their ability to leverage their brains and education, we'd be better off.
Do you think there's a political will for that? I mean, do you think the conversation's turning on that issue or not yet?
It's beginning to. It really is. I've authored a bill that is a tough bill. It takes the 50,000 slots that are available for what's called lottery and says, why don't we start making those available in a lottery for advanced degree graduates in the sciences leaving American universities and leaving America. And we're beginning to get some momentum on it. But remember, when you talk about immigration, baby steps is what we all know we could get done, and comprehensive is a way of saying we're not going to do anything.
I do want to turn to your FT piece, which ran earlier in the week. You talk about the president's Keynesian misadventure, as you put it. How do you get past? I don't need to tell you what the S&P has done. How little time has it's taken for it to double. Some of these ISM numbers are showing GDP running at a 5% rate this year. Obviously, a V-shaped recovery in corporate profits. Is that what a misadventure looks like?
You know, you have to understand that that the debt and the deficit and now the debt and the lack of job growth is part of it. We certainly applaud the fact that American corporations are making money, but when we look at over $1 trillion that is sitting in foreign profits that aren't coming back to America to build American jobs, we also realize we have policies that are really hurting those domestic investments. And let's remember, I'm an old corporate executive, getting older as we talk.
Yeah, like all of us.
But the fact is that profits are only one indication of a healthy economy. Job creation is another one. If we have a high amount of profits made by companies that basically build overseas, sell overseas, and have paper profits in the U.S., that's not healthy for America. And that's what we're really dealing with. We're dealing with the American economy, not just global profits.
You know, there's always the possibility that that they could be doing a little trick on you, lower regulation on us, and then they just hoard cash, right? I mean, there is the possibility that those jobs never follow.
Well, remember, the kinds of regulations we're looking at, the kinds that are impediments to building and creating in America, whether you're mining, agriculture, or manufacturing, we're looking at things that only do a company good if, in fact, they're building, creating product or building new factories here in the United States. Remember, the EPA, as well-intentioned as it is, ends at our territorial borders. So when these folks are saying we can do things in other countries we can't do here, or we can get answers, and this is one of my real gripes, is we can get answers in a timely fashion, maybe from the FDA. So we're selling in 45 countries overseas and making those profits. Well, in fact, we're still waiting for regulatory approval in the U.S. That's the kind of a question of, if the FDA is a world-class organization, shouldn't it be able to give you a yes or no in a timely fashion, rather than being after all of the European Union? And remember, one of our greatest competitors, the one you don't hear about, is the European Union. That's where an awful lot of decisions are being made by successful corporations today, and that's who we're competing against. It's not always China and India.
Right.
Those are low-cost areas, but when you talk about first-world production, you're often talking about countries that are just slightly better than us in regulatory approval.
Interesting. We have to go. I do want to ask you, though, before we leave, this New Yorker piece, which is making the rounds, calls you, according to some, the man most likely to weaken the president before the 2012 election. Do you like that label?
You know, my goal is to strengthen the president. I think the last 2 years have weakened the president because they gave him too much money, too loosely, and without the kind of opportunity to give and take that makes America stronger. So if the president's going to win re-election, he's going to win a re-election because together we turned the economy in the right direction. American businesses invested, Americans went back to work, and they're feeling good in 2012. I hope we can do that together. I probably still won't vote for him, but I certainly wouldn't feel bad if Americans were working again and he did get another 4 years.
If you do decide to vote for him, you'll let us know, right?
You'll be the first.
Okay. Congressman, good to talk to you. We'll be watching the hearing closely today. Congressman Issa joining us.